Hello, so I'm talking to you today from the Sixth Form Centre, and I wanted to talk to our Year 11 and our Upper 6 students about study leave. Obviously, you went on to study leave on Friday, and I thought it was just useful to give you some ideas and some pointers about how to really get the best out of your study leave. Now, obviously, this year, your study leave is in anticipation of your Rossall diploma exams. Rather than your public examinations. And it's really, really important that you put absolutely everything you can into these examinations. For all of you in Year 11 and in the Upper 6th, this is the culmination of 2 years of really hard work. And it's important that you show the very, very best of yourself in these examinations. For our Year 11 students, this is also going to provide really useful, important information when we look at your subject combinations for sixth form, whether that's for A-levels or for the IB. For our upper sixth students, again, this is a really, really important piece of evidence and information that I, as your head of sixth, am going to use when I talk to universities, because as you'll have seen on the last video blog that I did with Ms. Porovich, I'm going to be writing to all of your universities about you, talking about how fantastic you are and our reservations about the system that's being used by Ofqual and the exam boards for your A-levels and for the IB. So, really important that you revise as hard as you possibly can for these examinations. But what else can you do to make sure that you get the best out of your study leave? So, first thing is that you need to make sure that your day is structured. It's very, very easy. I've experienced this when I did examinations. I'm sure lots of your parents and your teachers did as well. It's really, really easy to get into bad habits. So it's very important that you have a very clear structure to your day. That's something that you've benefited from, obviously, in recent weeks with remote learning at home that lots of other students at maybe other schools and colleges haven't been able to. That needs to continue. And actually, the school day is a really good routine to stick to. So you've got clearly defined periods of time that you're doing particular things in, revising for a particular subject. So not only do you need a routine and a structure in your day, but you need a structure to your revision. So you need to have a really clear idea of where you want to go and what you want to achieve with your revision and what you're going to do at different points in the day, but also at different points over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, I've spoken to the upper sixth before about the work of a man called Daniel T. Willingham, who is a professor of cognitive psychology at, I think, Virginia Tech University. Really, really interesting guy who's written a lot about education and about how we can apply to neuropsychology and neuroscience to the education. And one of his key principles is something that's always stuck with me. And he said that memory is the residue of thought. We remember, and we remember well, those things that we think about a lot. And this is a really good principle to apply to your revision. Because what he's saying is that if you want to remember something, if you want to understand something in depth, at a deep level rather than superficially, then you really need to engage with that material. And that means that when you're revising, it's not simply enough to read over your notes. You need to force yourself to think about this material. So that means you need to do things with that material. So you might want to rank some kind of concepts or material in order of importance. You might want to plan essays. You might want to do exercises, maybe in maths or physics. Because when you have to apply knowledge, you think about it in more depth and more detail, and you're going to come to a greater understanding of it. Because you think about it more, you're going to remember it, and therefore in your examinations, you're going to be able to retrieve that from your long-term memory and not be sitting there in the exam unable to remember anything. You also need to cycle your revision. So over the next 3 or 4 weeks, you should be cycling your revision so that you are looking at concepts and particular topics multiple times, maybe 3 or 4, 5 even times, so that you don't just look at a particular unit or topic once, you're coming back to it over and over again. So maybe you don't spend as long on it, don't spend 2 days on one topic, you might spend a few hours, and then a few hours a week later, and a few hours a week later again after that. So you keep coming back to this material. That means it's more likely to stick in your long-term memory, and that when it comes to your exam, you're going to be able to retrieve that from your long-term memory, and you're going to have remembered and understood it. The other thing that you need to be doing is you need to be testing yourself, and you need to be testing yourself objectively. You shouldn't just be saying to yourself, can I remember that, if you've just spent time revising it, because of course you're going to be able to. What you should be doing is objectively testing yourself using past paper questions, assessments that your teachers have given you. Maybe you're going to plan an essay without looking at your material and see how much you can remember. Any kind of objective test or assessment of that material is going to help you not only practice retrieving it, but also it's going to be a sort of assessment that you can take of yourself. And if there's particular parts that you haven't remembered or that you haven't understood in detail, you then know that you need to come back to that. So you need to force yourself to think about the material, because memory, okay, is the residue of thought. You need to be cycling your revision and keep coming back to topics, and you need to be testing yourself objectively. If you can use these 3 sort of guiding principles during your revision, then you'll be in a really good position come the exam. A couple of other important things to remember is that, of course, you should keep checking in with your tutors at least once a week. They should all have given you an appointment time. I know you've all got that. Make sure you're sticking to that, so you're checking in, letting us know how you're getting on. We want to know that everything's okay. And again, that provides a good bit of structure for you. And of course, if you should remember that your teachers are still available to you. So if there's anything you've not understood, if you've tested yourself objectively and you've struggled and you realize you really don't understand a particular concept as well as you'd like, drop your teacher an email, see if they can help you. Maybe they'll arrange a conversation over Zoom or Google Meet. And your teachers are going to be available often during your lesson slots that would have been. So again, check in with them and get the benefit of all their expertise and their subject knowledge. So use your study leave well, revise as hard as you possibly can, keep to a structure, remember those guiding principles that I've talked about, and if you're struggling or you need any extra help, you want some work looked at, marked, just get in touch with your teachers. Very best of luck, guys, and I know you'll do fantastically well in these exams, and we look forward to seeing how well you've done and then obviously celebrating that success in the summer.